Oh, because a week from today was the first.
Because
3:46, and it sounds like we're ready to go.
is that their,
There was not,
The meeting,
Chris could not find us.
So I have administrative access to the Zoom account, and I was looking at all the upcoming meetings, and I cannot find your meeting in there.
this lady is really on the ball when it comes to letting,
But
Oh,
I have
well, I
that.
can't do any, well, yeah, it's posted, but that's all I do.
But I am the host of it.
well, welcome to the committee.
We welcome you, we do. We welcome
so
all the things.
Barry is on, or is it you that has the Zoom or the?
No, it goes to,
Just go to John Reiser.
John has his own account, I forget. Who gets it? LPC goes to Barry. Oh, that's great.
I know it's.
Well, no, I'm sorry.
it's more-
So it just has his name. The LPC chair, I think, goes to, did I look that up?
Well, I never get any mail or anything at LPC chair, which I am the LPC chair, but I think I've long ago lost the thread that leads me into Zoom. It's changed so many times.
Yeah, and Barry, the password that Barry used for the LPC email, I believe is Treemore, capital T, capital M. And I don't remember if there's
That's one of it.
He's
numbers.
got a lot of
Yeah.
email addresses.
Well, it's for the LPC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not his personal. I hope doesn't use the same password. They just had a big article
I
in
don't
the
think
news
so.
about don't using, if you don't use similar passwords for. Yeah. So then I thought, I don't,
Yeah, I'll look to see who gets the LPC chair, emails. I think it's you.
I am
I
the
think they're-
LPC chair.
What are you guys gonna
so
do?
you're gonna have
I haven't
100
done this
emails.
for many, many.
Right, yeah.
I have, how many?
No, you're gonna have 100 emails if you haven't been checked
Don't
yet.
tell them that.
Well, it's supposed to alias to my regular email account, and I haven't gotten anything.
I'll have to look to see, if,
I get emails from people, I got an email from Joyce this morning, but it came to my regular email, not alias.
Hmm. Interesting, I don't know.
You get hundreds of emails at your LPC address.
Oh, so I have the board, of course, the board,
Yeah,
we get all kinds of emails, and then I have the RAC chair.
and we have our people,
yeah, Pam Boyd and Rob Pattinson.
okay. Are they in? Pam, Rob, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you just fine.
Thank you for coming.
Yep.
All right. We have a quorum, so we'll call the meeting to order. We're expecting John to arrive shortly, and I think Marty and Janine are not going to be here to town. So,
Any word on Marty?
yeah, I spoke with Marty and she's doing pretty well, but her daughter is concerned about her living alone in the house, so she's waiting for a little transition to develop here. Yeah, she's still in Chicago. So, being good order, would you please call the roll?
Roll call. Janine LaPrada is not here. Marty Mayo is not here. Lisa Pappas.
Here.
Tim Renman.
Here.
John Reiser, not here yet. I think John's coming though.
He is coming.
Will Weber,
Here,
Here's an extra.
thank you very
Thanks, have a good
much.
meeting.
Will Weber, you said yes. Lynn Wiseman is here. Barry is here. Our consultant, Barry.
all right, in order, and everyone have a chance to look at the agenda. Any comments, additions? If not, we'll ask for motion to approve.
All ready to approve the agenda?
Okay, second. I'll second. We don't need a voice
We can
vote.
do a voice vote.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Second, the minutes, people had a chance to look them over. Any comments, queries, corrections? They look good to me. Thank you. Excellent. For doing such a good and proper job, Lisa. And
You're welcome.
Liz for approving, I guess, and sending
Yeah,
them
but
out.
Lisa
So,
did them.
yeah, so that's all,
appreciate it a
that's all
lot.
in order.
Thank you.
Good. So public comments.
We need to approve those minutes officially. Let's do.
Oh, excuse me, we have to vote to approve. Let's see, can we voice vote this too?
Yes, but we have to have a motion and support.
I make a
Someone other
motion
than
to
you.
approve the minutes as submitted.
Lisa, okay,
I'll second again.
and Will? And then
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're at public comments. We have a visitor. Did you have anything you'd like to say or comment?
No, I'm just.
Okay, all right. Do you just like to introduce yourself?
I'm Daryl Burkhardt and am new to, been in Ann Arbor area for about 2 years. And I'm very interested in farmland protection.
Oh, that's
Thank
great.
you for coming.
And you live in the township?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you said very interested in what?
Farmland protection.
Here's our farmland man on the.
Me too.
Oh,
You live on a farm?
no,
You just care about it. Yeah,
I just care about it.
Yeah.
My background is in conservation biology. I used to work in an open lands program out west, Colorado. But my grandmother and grandfather had a farm in Ann Arbor, which is now gone. But I think, I love Michigan's farmland and farmland's gonna come under a lot of stress in the coming years. So now is the time to take action, in my opinion. So,
Well, we hope you'll stay in touch with us because from time to time, positions open and we're always interested in someone with your background and interests.
okay,
What was your family farm?
uh,
What was it? Was it Burkhardt family farm?
well, no, it was the Larmy family,
Which one?
Larmy.
Larmy, okay.
Yeah, if you go to the Bethlehem Cemetery, there's a lot of Larmies in the Bethlehem.
Oh,
But it was, my grandfather was a Larmy.
And the farm was in the township?
No, it was north, up Pontiac Trail.
I see.
Um,
Okay. All right, Rob or Pam, did you have any comments?
I would just like to thank Liz for the agenda packets. Your minutes and agenda packets now are spectacular. So thank you for going to all the work for putting those together. Well done.
Welcome, Rob. Happy to do it.
Well said, Rob.
This is Pam Boyd, and I'm excited for Ms. Burkhardt's interaction with you guys. So I welcome her too. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna engage you.
Might be in trouble.
All right, now reports of other commissions. Let's see, we're a little deficient here on people who have information regarding some of these other things, but anybody been to the planning commission recently? All right, we may hear more from John Reiser when he arrives. Parks and Pathways, did you meet Liz?
They, Parks, because of the way the days fall, meets next week, and I wasn't there in January, so I don't have a report.
Okay, okay.
But there is a little bit of news there
There is. Okay, Barry will tell us about.
that we
tell us.
heard about. That Anna is taking another job.
Oh, I did not know
Oh,
that.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I did not know that.
Anna Cohen.
That's a huge
I
loss.
think that's a public thing.
As of when she's?
I don't know. I just, Riser mentioned that to me one day. I thought that you would do that, but maybe not.
Oh, well, shucks. Oh, yeah, sorry
That's
to do
a
that.
huge loss for the township.
How long was she in that job? Like 6 months?
She did an internship, and then she's brought
Couple of
wonderful,
summers ago.
yes.
She
And
was
then she
hardworking.
brought wonderful people in to work for the township last year. She was very, very good.
It's a bummer.
All right, and we're missing Marty for the Sustainability Task Force, so I think we'll wait and defer on Board of Trustees and Planning till we get John here. He referenced having sent a report. Did anybody pick that up?
Yes, I have it.
Emailed it.
What I printed it.
Is it a long report?
It's a couple pages. Here it is. You want me to read it?
If you can pick out things that are relevant to
Okay,
us.
highlights. January 23rd Board of Trustees meeting, fire, the Scioto Township Department Chief presented his 2023 year-end report. It summarized fire and rescue activity, including mutual aid requests. There were 48 incidents and responded outside Scioto 59 times, average response time from 9/11 to, okay, so it's got a lot of details about
It's not relevant to us.
Yeah,
response time. Parks, Preserves and Pathways report was presented by Director Anna Cohn. She spoke about one, the accomplishments of 4 seasonal stewards, including new trails and maps, maintenance activities, natural resource management research, etc. 2, future projects, including Township Hall Park, DD Marshall parking lot, Van Curler parking lot. 3, Z Road pathway, phase 4, pedestrian bridge over Huron River and connecting path to border trail. 4, the recent completion of Upland Drive sidewalk connector linking 4 adjacent subdivisions and improvements to 3 AAATA bus stops. Finally, the establishment of Van Curler Reserve Exploration Trail. Another note about the Board of Trustees approved a new policy to standardize the process to appoint members to township committees. Let's see, is this relevant? The board approved Utility Director Brandon McNeil's request to have OHM conduct required engineering services for service line identification per the US EPA and Michigan EGLE. I think that's how you say it, EGLE. EGLE, a complete water distribution service line list must be completed by October 16th. The Board of Trustees considered the PPP, the Parks, Preserves and Pathways Committees, and the director's request that the Board of Trustees approve the use of remaining $750,000 MEDC grant for the Z Road pathway on phase 4, I'm sorry, crossing the Huron River and connecting to the border trail instead of the phase for the new I-94 pedestrian overpass based on Scioto Township's engineering consultant feasibility study, and because MDOT will not approve the pedestrian improvements sought. Phase 5 involves the design and construction of a pedestrian bridge over the river and a pathway that connects with the border trail. A resolution directing Anna Cohn and Joyce Parker to reach out to the grant administrator to confirm Scioto's ability to do so was passed by the Board of Trustees. Chief Hood led a discussion about burning.
Open burning,
Yeah.
John Reiser, record should reflect I showed up at 4:14. And you're just going over obviously my DOT report.
Yeah.
I brought printed copies and I emailed to everyone.
The open burning, what was that about? I'm curious.
The discussion whether Scioto Township should consider changing our ordinance, which allows open burning in certain situations, and the consensus was, and the chief wasn't asking for any changes to it.
Okay. So those people with prairies would be concerned about that if it were changed, I suppose.
Does anyone need a copy?
Does open burning include a controlled burn, or is that just?
No, I think
we're
that's
in
a
brush
different-
pilot?
Oh, that's a different.
We're talking about things in your backyard.
Yeah.
Burning leaves, burning brush, burning charcoal,
And that's,
not
that's currently not
big
allowed.
brush.
I don't know. All right, was there anything else relevant to our activities that may have been discussed at the board meeting? Thank you for a nice concise report here, but I'd like to hear from you.
No, oh, well, I suppose, yeah, we agreed to a list finally for sale, the Wild Fry Farm, at 7970 West Liberty, that's an LPC.
It's a historical property, is that it?
Yes, it is, no,
It's not one of our properties.
oh, it's not, I thought we had a role in the acquisition of that.
Nope.
My apologies.
The
But-
one next to
It's
Liberty
an open
Pond.
space parcel, because there's gonna be a conservation easement, it's gonna be somewhat open space with a conservation easement
No
associated.
conservation easement last I heard, but a historic preservation district designation.
I thought there were going to be limitations with a parcel with respect to what they can be used for.
Not in the form of a conservation easement, as far as I know.
It may be, it's a,
Both that-
Historical preservation.
yes, it's a yes.
That's been designated as such.
So you
Yeah.
said there's a contract on it or what?
No,
What did you
well,
say?
yes, but a contract to list it with
Oh.
Reinhardt Realty with a gentleman named Patrick McCauley. Patrick McCauley is formerly on the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission and kind of familiar with these parcels. He talked about some of the limitations that are gonna be associated with selling it based on the condition of the house, based on the concrete there, based on the what the parcel, the property gonna be able to use for. So, but we're gonna move ahead to sell it.
Where's that piece of property?
Liberty, it's
Next to the Liberty Pond Nature Preserve.
yeah.
Yeah, right next to
It's
it.
the farmhouse that goes along with Liberty Pond.
That needs
So
work.
the intention is
A
to,
lot of work. So we have preserved space near it.
Next to it.
Okay, there.
It's a
it is.
beautiful place.
There was also, so that was a guy named Ernie Bateson that owned that whole
Yeah.
property and he moved dirt and yada yada and
Yeah,
didn't pay his
right.
taxes. And so the township acquired the property completely separate from the
That's
LPC.
right, that's
In
right.
exchange for paying the taxes, basically got this property designated as an historic district and is now selling it.
We had to hire we had to hire someone to get the tires off of there,
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
lots
Oh,
of tires,
right.
like big tires. Like big
tractor
tires,
tires.
as tall as you tires.
Right.
and so it,
Well, it's on a different subject. I was wondering about the process for appointing people to committees. What was the big change there?
Well. There are different committees and commissions that Scioto Township and other municipalities have. Some of those are appointments that the supervisor is entitled to make, subject to approval by the Board of Trustees. The supervisor has the statutory and by our ordinance, which is consistent with the statute, to make the appointment to planning commission members, to compensation commission members, and to DDA members. So let's say that the supervisor has an idea about who should be on one of those committees, but certain members of the board have different ideas. Therein lies the tension.
So it has been changed so that the board.
No, that's one of the tensions. So it's like the supervisor has the right to appoint subject to the approval. Think of it like Supreme Court, advice and consent of the Senate. Your president appoints, but not if the Senate doesn't say so.
Okay, so
So,
that's how it
so
works.
that's some of them. Now, how do we advertise those? How do, some of it, we're trying to get them such that all the appointments are going to be ending on a certain date, because it's easier to onboard people. So one of the goals was to get staggered terms generally, so that you have a third of your people expiring at any one time. The other is to try to have them on board at the same time of the year, so that staff knows how to onboard them with getting them in their email and all their other things like that. And also so that either the supervisor or the clerk, depending on the position, can advertise on the SIOS website, on email sites, on Nextdoor, to put the word out that there are these openings, there are these positions, and here's how to do it. So that is also
So it
part of it.
doesn't change how we operate. Like if we wanted Ms. Burkhart to join us, let's just say. And then everybody says, we recommend this person, and then the board votes on it, and then.
It does change that, because then the township's going to be saying, hey, does anybody, there's this opening. We would be saying to Ms. Burkhart, go to the Scioto Township website and apply for it.
Yeah,
So it-
but that's what we've always done, right? With most of, except for,
I think that might depend.
except for planning.
It kind of might, that might depend a little.
Because that's what I did. I
But
wrote.
now we're gonna have a consistent, pulling of the residents, so to speak, like letting them know how to apply, how to process.
So everyone can be, who wants to, can be.
Yeah, and so we're gonna try to do a better job getting the word out and soliciting input.
Okay. I
And
don't-
then the tensions are often getting new blood versus continuing people who have kind of gotten up to speed on the issue and the projects, things like that. There's always that tension. Getting new folks with new ideas, whether they're bringing a different
Okay.
perspective.
So while we're talking about the subject of commission members and their appointments and tenure, what is your situation now?
I have a temporary appointment that I believe ends in February or March.
What, can
We're in
you
February.
extend and continue to be a
You mean next February?
No, I think I ended, February, was it March? February, March, I think it was. I think there was in one of my prior,
It was, but can you not stay on with us as our board?
no,
member?
I can. And that'll be up to the board.
Oh.
I'm interested in staying on and I'll express that to the board, but there might be someone else who's interested as well. I don't know.
Well, it might be, do we need anything from us to submit to the board?
I'll let the board know. It's going to come up, so I'll let you folks know. I'll keep you posted. You have?
Okay,
Has anybody indicated an interest in that seat,
anybody else?
your seat?
You ask a lot of questions in public meetings, and I'll ask them all as improvident as they may or may not be. Yes.
Okay, all right. This is probably not the place to
Oh, it
get
can
into
be.
detail on it. Okay. All right, and we're kind of working our way down to report. I thought maybe the last item, the 5-year contract renewal for the Huron River Watershed Council, does that intersect with our activity in any way?
No, not necessarily. Bob Hyde is the HR, the Watershed Council rep. He does a good job. He attends those meetings. He kind of reports back. He reports back often really in the planning commission context. And they've also offered to do reports on a more frequent basis, just so that they can let us know what they're doing by way of what they're doing on, sediment reduction or phosphorus reduction in the watershed. Honey Creek and Huron River.
What is the contract?
There's a several page scope of services. That's a 5-year contract. Most of the municipalities, school districts, U of M have contracts with the watershed. And I think they help the municipalities kind of comply with the Eagle requirements with respect to the phosphorus reduction. There's if you go to yesterday's board packet, the scope of services is spelled out.
All right,
Thank you.
were you in attendance at the planning meeting? Was there anything?
The answer is no, because there wasn't one.
Okay. All right. Good. We'll then go to old business. Pardon me?
Some sustainability task.
Oh, were you there? That's right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know Marty was not gonna be here. She's not well.
Speak up a little bit, Tim.
I know Marty is not well and I don't know when the next time she'll be here, so. So I made a couple of notes. Sustainability Task Force led by Jan Culbertson is doing more and more impactful things. It's I wasn't so sure at the beginning. I mean, it's all volunteer as this is, but it's coming along. And the task force is gonna ask for a budget and it's being impactful in terms of possible effects on agriculture and farmland. I went to the annual meeting for the Washtenaw County Conservation District and it was well attended. It was out in Ypsilanti. It's well attended, but the Conservation District has gotten a $30 million grant, something like that, to work with the FDA on farmland sustainability. And that's a pretty significant thing. It'll impact any farmland that it could impact. It's up to the farmers to apply.
This is based on Washtenaw County, 39, the money's allocated for the county.
Washtenaw County Conservation District, I'm not sure, Will, if it's totally dedicated to the county. I think it is.
Oh.
I think that it is, but it's a substantial grant and it came through the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, which is a big pile of money.
$1 million or so.
To say the least, and the impact of that program is to help farmers to be more sustainable in their farming practices, do more cover cropping, be much more careful with their application of chemicals in their practices, and it's going to have some far-reaching effects, and it will affect our watershed, and it will affect some of the land that we have preserved. So there's that, and there's an effort within the township and within the county to create some kind of composting situation that would mimic what Ann Arbor, the city of Ann Arbor, is doing. We don't have much of a situation here in Scioto Township, nor do we in the county, but it could be expensive, but there is a movement afoot to get that going. In Dexter, there's a group that gets together once every 2 weeks. Are you aware of that? Anybody else here aware of that? And Debbie Dingle always comes to it, and she reports on her end of what's happening nationally. What affects us is the Gelman plume to some degree, and that is moving actually into the federal purview and into the what's the name of the agency that the EPA.
EPA.
Is going to be one taking over that.
Well, maybe taking over it, or maybe declaring it as a Superfund site, subject to public comment
Yeah.
and future review.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, John.
Yeah, because there's gonna be a comment period, and Gelman's gonna fight it hard. So it ain't a done deal.
Ain't a done deal, but it should happen according to Debbie Dingle by the end of 2024 this year, maybe at the beginning of next year. So, yeah, that's it, Will.
Okay, well, thank you, Tim. Anything else regarding commissions that I may have overlooked? All right, under old business, we have the LPC budget. Barry and I have been engaged with this a bit. I was wondering where it stood. I sent an email to Joyce regarding it, and she informed me that February 29th is budget night for the BOT. And she requested, if possible, Barry, that you and I be there for that meeting. We can talk about whether it's important or not, but she wouldn't give me any clarity as to whether our budget was likely to be approved or not, or any comments on specific items that may have been included. And we've always thought of it as fairly pro forma, but who knows what may happen. I think probably it's in our interest for at least one of us to attend that meeting.
So sometime in advance of that meeting, John, I assume that there will be draft budgets provided either on the website or to each of the individual programs and departments. So we'll know about it ahead of time rather than just showing up on the 29th.
Yes, we could also reach out to Joyce.
We'll done that.
Yeah, I did that just this week, and that was when I got back, is coming on the 29th.
Okay. There was a draft that was done yesterday. I have it in my car.
Oh, and did you look at the LPC?
No, not yet. She just handed it out. So, well, I can get with you, or I'll go out in the car and get it, or I'll share it with you. It was a draft that she.
Yeah, let's not take time now, but if we
Yeah,
could just discuss.
Yep, I'll do that.
Maybe there. All right, great. Thank you, John. Potential new staff assistants for LPC. I also asked Joyce about this. You know, we have in the township onboarded another person, and I've heard positive comments about him from people who've met him, but Joyce said, well, she would get together with me at a later date, and we would talk about what ideas we have for how we might use this person, who is a planner. And apparently is now working with roads and is, I don't know, maybe he's gonna kind of replace Anna, I don't know, because he was originally hired to be but part-time or half-time with parks and preserves.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what Chris
There
was.
may be some overlap there.
Anna's expertise is very specific
Right,
to
so
what we need.
Chris comes to us from the city of Ann Arbor, where he worked for decades and has retired. He was a planner, AICP, lives in Scioto Township, member of the planning commission. So he's familiar with a lot of the projects that Scioto has going on. I think his role is going to be a project manager. And he was gonna be helping Anna do kind of the project management stuff of her job. I think Anna would rather be out in the field, rather than building parking lots and trailheads and things like that. And that, you know, her degree is in ecology. So Chris was gonna be kind of doing some of the, I don't wanna say business end, but you know, some of more of those kind of tasks.
We just heard that Anna was leaving her post.
That's also true. She has taken a job for OHM, but not the local OHM, but the OHM there out of Livonia. It's a, you know, a firm that does municipal consulting as well as other projects. So she's gonna be working on kind of ecology, forestry kind of things that are consistent with her degree and consistent with her interest. So that's a gut punch. Because, you know, I don't begrudge her career advancement and doing what she wants to do. And I really wish her every success. But she's got, for not a tall woman, she's got big shoes to fill around Scioto Township.
Yep.
So the other fella is, Lou is a township employee.
Yes.
Chris Chang is a township employee, yes.
What is OHM?
It's I want to say it's an engineering and consulting firm. They're a big municipal consulting firm. They work with planning, they do, you know, they're engineers. So there are engineers. So when the sewer project comes in or things like that, they weigh in on how many, you know, REUs it's going to take for an apartment complex and whether or not the infrastructure for the water in the detention pond and all those environmental kind of concerns. So they do that. They do that for Scioto as well as, I know they do it for Ipsy Township. They do it for other municipalities. In fact, they're here frequently enough that they have an office on Zeeb Road near Park. So they have a local presence here. We have two, the people are generally Matt Parks. There's also Stacy Monty. There's one other person. I apologize for not getting her name, but they also have additional people. They also help. They have someone who works just on transportation. Like on the Zeeb Road pathway and that crazy connection that we have to do near the old Sweepster, where it goes down a hill, around a corner, around the stream, across the railroad tracks, around a bush, all that stuff. So they have people with expertise. Yeah, they have expertise in parks planning, and they helped on the parks planning. So that's what OHM is. There are contracted engineer, since we don't have an engineering department within Scioto Township.
That's it. All right. Thank you for that rundown. All right, we had as a new business item, compliance with Open Meetings Act. We are now officially required to comply as a commission. Of course, I think we always had been complying.
Yeah,
We have been,
that's not a change in operations for us.
but it was a standardization, is that right?
That's right, that's right, that's right. So we've been doing that. We meet in person. We go into closed sessions for only the reasons we're allowed to go into closed session, which is usually to consider the acquisition of land up until the time of, you know, that is contracted for purchase, so.
Right. So, yeah, nothing profound about
Yeah,
that.
but there are some that, aren't required statutorily to be Open Meetings Act, but the board has, evinced an intention that they do so, so.
And to be clear, commission members who are not present and come in by electronic means can,
That can what?
go ahead.
Yeah, I cut you off, but well, so in order to deliberate, you have to be here. Now, there's some Open Meetings Act exceptions. So I'd want to refer, like if Marty wanted to be here, she could have zoomed in if her health allowed her to do so and watched. Whether she could participate I'd wanna run that past Jessica and or the attorney, Mariah or Jim Fink, to make sure if she was asking for like a HIPAA, not HIPAA, that's not the right word, but an accommodation, a medical ADA accommodation, because of her health. So, that's something we can do in advance of the next meeting, if that's something that she wants to participate but can't because of her medical condition.
All right.
Okay, but give us some time to flesh that out.
All right, thank you. So at this point, we have an open session consultants report. Barry, you do.
Liz is loading for me, but I can't get Word to work on my computer right now. That's the one. Right, so there's 3 bullets on that. We have no projects that are under contract at this point, so there's nothing to report in that regard. On the report, there's 3 bullets there. I added a 4th since I sent this out. And the 4th one, before I forget, I guess, is the email that I forwarded to you all from Rosie Donaldson at the Greenbelt Program about the Lake Erie RCPP funds, and where that stands. I think it was today that they were gonna have a meeting with the state conservationists. So this is funds that go through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Their agency is called the Natural Resources Conservation Service. It comes into the Michigan office of NRCS. And the guy who runs that office is the state conservationist, Gary Lee, with whom we've had some previous challenging interactions in regards to the whole RENS refund, same guy. I don't think there's any hard feelings about that, but just to, remind you that, that finally getting those funds back into our account was by Will Hathaway and I getting on the phone with Gary Lee and saying, what the hell is our money? Still, we finally did. Oh yeah, we got that a year ago. Yeah, but anyway, the point is, it's the same guy that the state conservationist. You read the email, so I just, if you have any questions about it, I can ask him. I thought Rosie did an outstanding summary of where things have been and where they stand. They're gonna have this meeting today. She anticipates that he's gonna pitch something to them that I don't think any of us support. Or I think they have 1 or 2 ideas to send back to them, which may not fly with them. And then I think the 4th option was that we just say, we're letting this money go. The downside to that was that it may be more difficult for us to get RCPP funds in the future if we turn this one down, sort of. Then they may not be as favorable to us going forward. And if we were able to, this is $7.5 million, $7.4 million of federal funds that we're gonna match, on a 1-to-1 basis here in Scioto, Ann Arbor Township, Washtenaw County, Webster Township, all the local partners here. So, great opportunity for us. But some unexpected pitfalls in the process. So it would look bad for us, certainly as a collective, to turn those funds down. But also look bad for NRCS if they, approve the funds and then didn't utilize them. Congress and, the folks in Washington want the funds to be utilized, but it's these roadblocks that are insurmountable. These things were earlier today. See what happens now.
So the understanding or the hope is that Gary will be somewhat sympathetic to Rosie and the county people who were in line to potentially receive those funds and go back and talk to his superiors about alternate ways of allocating or alternate criteria.
The anticipation was that he's gonna come in with a proposal and they're gonna have, counter proposals. And
So you don't know what his proposal is yet.
it was, she outlined it in the email. It was to use the funds on properties that had flowing water bodies, and to put in conservation practices within a conservation easement, I think on the entire property. But to require, if you had a stream course running through the property, that you put in buffer strips or any number of other conservation practices that could be employed on a property. There's lots of different options. but that would be a requirement to receive the federal funds. But then it would be also a requirement of the township as the easement grantee and ultimately the one responsible for monitoring and conservation easement to ensure that those practices, which are farming practices, are being employed. Whereas typically we deal with, are there any subdivisions? Are there any gravel pits? Have the trees been clear cut? Have they drained the wetlands? Those are all the things that are in a typical conservation easement. And easy enough to determine in an annual monitoring visit. Is there a house there or not? No. Okay, you're good. Is there a gravel pit? No. I mean, it's yes or no. Is there a dump on the property? They're easy to do. It's, not really my expertise to evaluate whether somebody's employed and continues to employ a conservation practice on a property under conservation easement. It's just really, and Rosie mentioned in her email, it's not best practices for conservation easements to require certain things to happen. And we've done the one exception to that we've done here just recently on the Renz farm was the affirmative language. So in the easement that required the land to be put to some agricultural use. That's as far as any of us have gone in that regard. But that's again, is it in pasture? Is it in hay? Is it in corn? Is it in flowers? Is it in vegetables? That's an easy thing to determine. And that's a little unusual, but this is a whole nother realm to say, yeah,
Specifications.
you've got to install these conservation practices and then maintain them as part of the monitoring. It's potentially a nightmare. And if there's some violation, they say, screw you, I'm taking this thing out. That gets back to an enforcement issue. What do we do about that then? Do we want to have to go to court to force somebody to put their buffer strip along the stream back in? It sounds like it's a barrel of snakes, and I would just as soon avoid it also. So it's a matter of whether they can come to some agreement for something else or to not include that. I guess one of the other things you mentioned was that there was two different pots of RCPP funds, and they were advised to apply for one pot, but really what we want to do is better suited for the other pot. And can we switch the money over to that other pot? That's probably not possible either. It's a sticky spot. And we'll see if Gary Lee is flexible and willing to compromise.
It's not really up to him, though. It's the federal people.
Well, I mean, he's a federal guy. He's the federal guy. He's the state conservationist. And there might be some, comment from Washington on this, but at some point, this is a higher level discussion, being at the state conservationist level.
What's the wording about a stream? If there's a stream and there's got to be the buffer zone, but that would exclude a lot of pieces of property.
Correct. Yeah, we wanted to do farmland preservation. A lot of properties don't have any streams on them. Some of the ones that we're working on don't have any streams on them. And so those funds would not be eligible.
So
That's the implication.
criteria determine the eligibility.
Correct.
Oh.
Correct. So it's not only requiring certain practices that we'd be responsible for monitoring and enforcing, but also lots of properties just wouldn't be eligible because they don't have a water flow.
This is related to the Lake Erie watershed.
Correct. This is our proposal was the Lake Erie RCPP, and it's one of the, what do they call them, priority areas or areas of concern or something of that nature. And there's a number of them across the country, areas that have been negatively impacted by land use practices. And so this is a way to mitigate those by conserving land so it doesn't get paved over and have all the runoff and, pollutants that come in from parking lots and rooftops and lawns. So, I mean, ultimately, we can show what the benefits would be, but it's getting them to agree to this. We'll see if that happens. Enough said on that for now.
Okay.
I wanted to point out the financial statements that were provided.
Yeah.
John asked me to give a little introduction to them. So let me start with the balance sheet. And this may be the same numbers that we saw last month. And Rebecca said that, so I don't think she had the numbers through January, but just to refresh everybody, I'm endeavoring to request these things every month. So you can see where we stand. And so far I've been doing a pretty good job of requesting them on time, so you can
What's
have
the
them.
date on the one?
December 31,
Oh, that's okay.
which I think is
That's the one we sent out. Yep.
Yep, but I think it's the same one that got sent out in January as well.
Okay. All right. good.
But theoretically, there's, a new statement available, a new balance sheet on a monthly
January
basis.
End of January, right?
Yeah, but she just didn't have it, in
I hear
time
you.
for right now.
Okay.
But at any rate, this tells you, the funds that are available. I asked the question down at the bottom of the assets. The last two lines, one says due from state, and then there's a negative amount there.
That's why I asked about the federal government. It's money of ours.
And then the last line is due from federal government, and that's been paid.
Okay.
And so I'm confused about that. And then why is there a deficit from the state? And I asked Rebecca that, she sent me some other document today, and it didn't answer my question. So, I'll come back to that one. I think the key thing for you all to notice is down at the bottom under fund balance, total fund balance. I think this is what we have to work with at this point. I mean, it's no less than 1,926,000. It might be something more, like 2.6 million. But that's at minimum what we have available. I'll figure out the rest of it.
We're the 2.6?
I'm not
For
sure.
that,
I think 1,926,000 is what we have. I can.
1.9?
that's the
Guarantee.
beginning fund balance. So
Uh,
1.9.
This is the total fund balance on the balance sheet,
As of December 31st.
correct? This is down toward the bottom, 233-000-390.
This one right
Fund
here.
balance unassigned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we have 1.9 for the acquisition of fee simple or conservation easements, et cetera.
For anything. For due diligence, for
Expenses.
outrageously
Attorney fees and.
attorney fees,
environmental
consultants,
assessments
everything.
and Consultants and
All
appraisals.
the
and-
funds available for all activities.
And have we, does that include recent taxes received?
No.
Okay.
Unless anything came in before December 31.
And the we is honestly the board ultimately of trustees upon our recommendation to acquire these things. In other words, the spending of the funds.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, that's.
correct. Yeah, but that's the amount of money that we have to spend on due diligence and
The we is
everything,
got it. Okay.
events and purchases.
So the net of revenue. Net of revenue, DS expension, minus expenditures, I think is that taxes that we
That's what I'm not sure about, Tim.
will have coming in?
No, I don't think it is.
Tax money minus projected expenses. We don't know what that line means, huh?
I do not know. I asked for a clarification of it and did not get the answer.
So I should reach out maybe to Joyce or Ellie Norris from Plant Moran and say, hey, we could. Like a user guide to interpreting this document for our, so we can.
If I can't find out an answer
Certainly.
to those questions that I can readily express to you, then I'll ask for that.
Okay,
That'd be nice, because we could send that out to residents with this balance sheet. and then we can go
Yeah, okay.
And
So-
cost allocation is that sort of,
So we're on the balance sheet. I want to come to that one next.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to get you through that one
We're
first.
on this one right now, the vertical.
okay,
They're both horizontal.
Well, not when you print them, but okay.
Oh, actually, I think it is. I'm just looking at my screen. So I think the message for right now is 1.926 million. Before tax collection and before I get answers to the other questions.
Okay, thanks.
On to the revenue expenditure report, also through December 31. So the top part of it is revenues. The bottom part of it is expenditures. On both parts of it, the first column, which is end balance. That was what was, and I'm looking at the top now, that was what was received by March 31 of last year. So at the close of the fiscal year, the millage generated $634,000. Personal property taxes, 30 grand. And then they throw in the federal grant revenue and state grant revenue and other stuff. That's the end balance. And then the next column, 23-24 original budget, that's what the budget is for this year that we're in right now through March 31. So for another 6-7 weeks. The budget for property taxes was 669, 32,000 from personal property tax and so forth. The next column, 23-24 amended budget, it's the same, but sometimes there's an amendment to the budget. At least that's not in the expenditures and probably not, I'm sorry, in the revenues, but probably not in the expenditures either. And then the next column is how much of that has been collected at this point on the top. And then how much is left and what the budget is.
And Barry, do you mind if I just interrupt? Because I know we probably have some few people following at home. I just want to point out that this is publicly posted. It's on the Scioto Township Land Preservation Commission agenda. And our agenda, even though it says agenda, is really kind of our meeting packet. So if you go down, there's the agenda, there's the minutes, and then there are these documents at the end. So to the extent that there are people out there trying to follow along or not knowing what we're talking about, it is posted on there and you're looking at the things toward the bottom. It's on there.
And then at the bottom of that first page is the expenditures. So again, the first column is the actuals from the last fiscal year. The second column is the budget, second and third column is this year's budget, the original budget and the amended budget, which are the same. And then the next column is
Year-to-date balance.
year to date. So how much has been expended from each one of those lines? So for example, consultant fees, I'm sorry, the contracted services. The budget this year is 40 grand. And as of December 31, we'd spend about 20 grand. And so we have, as of then, about 20 grand left over.
Through April 1st.
Through March 31.
Right.
And so far, we spent just under 50% of the amount of funds that were budgeted for my time. And similarly, for legal fees, we had 30,000. We've only used 4 grand of that. So there's 25 left. We've only spent 14% and so forth. Land and easement costs, we haven't done anything yet this year. We've spent nothing. And so the 100% of the budget is available. For cost allocation, the budget was for 32 grand, 31 grand and change. As of December 31, 18,000 of that had been expended, which was 58% of the total. So that's what those budgets show. And the key reason why I'm getting these for you every month is to check that final column, basically. You know, where are we at with budget? And in every case, we're well under budget at this point. It's unlikely we're going to go over budget for anything this year by March 31. And if we were getting to that stage, somebody, as in the past has been, and somebody at the township, not me, has said, oh, the LPC is going to go over budget for their legal fees or for, whatever. We need to do a budget amendment for them. So whereas our 2 budget columns are the same, the original and the amended.
There's no adjustment needed.
The second one could be different. It looks like that we had higher legal costs than anticipated, or higher land and easement acquisition costs, same deal. You know, sometimes if we got appraisals and surveys and all those things, then we went past the 60 grand we have budgeted for that. Or we're about to go there. We were at 58,000 and we were gonna do a couple more appraisals or something like that and go over the 60 grand, somebody would catch that and say, gotta do a budget amendment. And so by the end of the fiscal year, we were not over budget. And that was the issue that came up last year, was that somebody wasn't paying attention to that, myself included, but somebody else had already done that, always done that. And so I didn't have to pay attention to it. It always got taken care of. Didn't get taken care of last year. So we were over budget. We got dinged in the audit for that. So I'm providing these to you on a monthly basis so you can see where we're at on things. And so we have another check on the whole process.
And the actual amendment to the budget is done by the Board of Trustees?
Correct.
So Barry, if one line item like contracted services is underspent, can that money be used for another line item? Like legal fees? I mean, is that one pot of budgeted money for the LPC to use that can be used for any of those?
So what we do here, I mean, we only have a few things that we spend any money on. It's the consultant fees, which is, when we engage Carlisle Wortman to do maps and things of that nature. It's me, it's legal fees. It is
Surveys,
the land and easement acquisition costs, which is all the due diligence.
survey and.
Yeah, so we budget those things. So, for me, it's 40, for the acquisition costs, it's 60. For the lawyer, it's 30. And so we look at the total amount of funds that are available, subtract those items. The rest of it goes into the item on land and easement, which is purchases. And if we were about to go past one of the other line items, I'd say that we would just take a little bit of money out of that and switch it into the legal fees or into the.
Yeah, so we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, the money is there.
Yeah.
And we have a budget.
All right.
And the idea is that what we always were told since day one on this program was budget high. So we don't have to do an amendment. We really have to pay attention to these things.
Right.
We don't need 60 grand for surveys and environmental and all that kind of stuff. We've only spent, 6 grand on it so far as of the statement. We spent a little bit more since then, but it's 10%. You don't have to be on point. You don't have to come in pennies short of your allocation.
Sure.
And you don't lose the money.
You don't lose the money. It just rolls over in this
It
case.
does, it rolls
Yeah.
over year by year.
Yeah.
If it's unused.
That's the advantage of having a dedicated millage. It can only be used for this purpose.
Yeah.
You didn't use it, put it on to the next year. What's your budget? Well, and what we said with our budget this year is like, these numbers work for us. So let's just keep it the same. We don't need a 2% or a 5% increase on things, and just take those items out and then put everything else into the land and easement line. And then we're good. And that's the way it's always worked, and hopefully will continue to work going into the future as well.
Good.
So that's the
Yeah,
explanation.
Barry,
on the
probably need to
financials.
move along. I know
Yep.
we've got a lot in open
We
closed
do.
session.
And let's go back to that. Thank you. I'm on the state grant deadline passed about a month ago, and we did submit one property, right? One property? Yes, just one for that. And we're waiting to hear on that. I just wanted to, we'll talk about that a little bit more in closed session, but I just wanted to say publicly that the state grant deadline is passed, and we did submit a property for that. And I think there's a real good chance that we'll get that award. The applications that come from Washtenaw County entities have a lot going for them. There's 2 parts to the state scoring system. One of them is the program information. And we've been doing this for 20 years. We have loads of experience, and just all the things that score points there. And the other piece of it is the property specific part of it. And the one that was submitted has really good soils, and it's got road frontage, all the things that they score points for. And we were not asking for a lot of money, because we fortunately have a federal grant award for that property. We've got our own dedicated village, of course. Both the Greenbelt program and the county program have indicated interest. We haven't asked them for a number yet, but I'm sure that they will contribute funds. And so we don't have to go to the state of Michigan and say, we need $1 million. They're asking for 200 grand, something like that. And the idea is that we'll couple whatever, if we get anything from the state and the federal grant award, and then see what's left over, and then come up by 3 and go to our local partners and say, can we split this and do it?
And what was the deadline, the state plan?
The 9th of January. So that's all on that. And then I circulated also at least a draft of a process document that was requested by Janine last time. That I will give credit to your equivalent, Tom Bartoszewski in Ann Arbor Township. Created that a year or two ago. And then I remembered after we left the meeting last month, I thought, oh, there's something like that around. What is that? And found it and did some little changes to it.
So this is the application flow chart you're talking.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you, I mean, I know
that's
put a little bit
useful.
more into it, but, and maybe switch a few things around. But anyway, that's where I'm going with that. Just wanted to. give you a quick update.
This was part of the agenda documents, Liz, that were submitted?
Yeah.
There are
Yes, that's.
So it's available on the website. I thought it was really, really helpful.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I did too.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll finalize that hopefully for next month.
So we can personalize this for SIOs.
Yeah, I did some of that, you know, LBC and Carlisle Workman score the property
Yeah.
and, you know, I changed it to LBC from the Ann Arbor Township Environmental Certificate, a few things like that.
Can you do, when you're doing that, instead of CWA, could you put, because that would be helpful to show people.
Or
When you.
or somebody
Yeah.
indicated
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Okay, good deal. Yeah.
So that's all for the open session report.
Okay. Thank you, Barry. The next item, we want to poll the commission for attendance at the next meeting, which is March 14th. Any problems attending that meeting that we know of here? All right, we're kind of rushing toward not having a quorum here with Marty not available and Janine didn't indicate, Janine did indicate she's likely to be back for March. So we may not have.
Might be able to be,
In person or Zoom?
I don't know, but she may be able to get that medical exemption.
Yeah, right. I think it might be called an accommodation, but yes.
The thing we need to consider is if she moves, it's going to be outside of Scioto Township.
Of course, if she moves, if
Yeah.
her residence remains in Scioto, but yeah. Is she thinking about maybe moving? Or- okay.
Yeah, it isn't finalized, so we really can't act on it, but she's pretty clear what she wants to do.
I mean, she will still own property in Scioto Township, so perhaps that's enough of a,
No, we asked about that and it's not enough,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Like a voter, it's oftentimes you gotta be a voter. Which you
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
But
So if owning a business, in other words, it's not sufficient. Or having owning a residential property that you do not reside at. Correct?
I'm not gonna speculate, I'm gonna look at what our bylaws.
The ordinance says members shall be residents
Yeah.
of Scioto Township.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently the one exemption is the Downtown Development Association where you just have to own a business in order to be on that commission.
Well, actually, not less than 50% not less than 50% need to have like a property interest in there, and at least one member has to actually reside there.
Of the commission.
Yes, of the DDAs.
All right, let
Yeah,
them work it out.
Of the authority, the board, yes.
All right, good. Then now we have another opportunity for public comments. I hope we haven't bored you, Rob and Pam. Have anything to say?
I can help, unmute, or can they do that themselves?
Wait, we're not there yet.
Hang on.
Oh,
Anything more?
John, we can unmute ourselves. And is there going to be anything when you come back from closed session? Will there be anything you vote on?
There might be.
Okay, then if Chris Bailey isn't there, John and Barry, if you could make sure that you pause the recording for the closed session and then restart the recording when you come back to open session and vote, then I'll get that recording from Christy tomorrow and I can post that.
Yeah, Barry, you might, if there is anything to summarize concerning what we're going to talk about now, you can do that.
Yeah, let's see if there's any more public comment.
Yeah.
And I'll do my summary.
All set. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great meeting.
Thank you, Rob.
You good, Rob?
Both hands, both hands.
Just 1 second. Barry's gonna just check to see if there's anything to report
Yeah,
about what we're gonna
Get
talk
used to a Mac here. Okay, how about I scroll for you?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, ready? Go.
This
This is what we will be talking about in closed session, is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
We talked about that state application. We have an appraisal that was completed since we last met, that's been shared with the landowners, and we're waiting to hear back from them. We have a property on which a recommendation has been made to the Board of Trustees for an easement purchase that we're gonna talk about. We have an update on another property that we're working on.
The new application.
We have a new application to discuss. I haven't processed it yet. And then we have two relatively new applications that came in late last year, on which we'll be doing the scoring.
And all of these are properties for which we have not reached the contract.
Correct. Yeah, we're still in the early stages of them.
We're still in the OMA protected stage.
Yes,
Oh, is that it, Barry?
that's it for my summary of the closed session.
All right, then we're accept a motion here to go into closed session.
So we'll.
Well, wait, we're gonna do our.
Read it out.
Yes,
A little more than that.
So Tim, do you have that in front of you or somebody?
I
has it?
got it.
Okay, so we need to read this out. This
Did
is,
somebody move? Okay, so move, we will move to closed session for discussion of pending property evaluations pursuant to section 15.268D of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, specifically to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained.
I'll second.
okay, now we need to do a roll call.
Individual vote, okay.
A roll call on this one. Lisa,
Yay.
Tim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Will,
Yes,
and I am yes.
all right, motion passes. We will now go into closed session.
Jerry, do you think there's something that Rob needs to stay in tune for? Are we gonna be taking action in the public potentially? Or is this just?
I think that there's potentially an action item.
Okay, all right.
But he doesn't need to stay tuned. I think what he said was just, turn it back on with our
Or
closed
you
session.
can mute it.
Okay, no, she's just gonna let it run and then, well, and he'll do
We're
it.
gonna stop the recording and.
There you go.
And let those guys go.
I'm just trying to accommodate.
And then we'll put the recording back on and Rob and Pam can look at it after the meeting is over to see if there's any further actions.
I'm stopping now.
All right,
Trying to.
okay.
That closed session?
Open
Oh,
session,
so you want to do a separate
Yeah,
adjournment?
Closed and open,
open, yeah.
and then nothing.
Motion to adjourn.
Will
So, or, move adjourn.
and Tim?
We can voice vote. Yeah, all in favor? Aye.
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 And Rob, just so you know, I know you might be recording this, there was no action taken, closed session. Thank you for attending. Stop the recording.
Oh, very, very.